And I'd like to thank you and Chairman Graves and Ranking Members DeFazio and Norton for all of your work on this bill and for including my amendment on railway, highway, grade crossings in the manager's amendment. I also appreciate the Chairman's willingness to work with Mr. DeFazio and others on the committee who have concerns about the limitation on including ports in the freight rail network. The compromise language included in the manager's amendment is a step forward, and I hope that we can all work together to improve it as the legislation moves forward. I just wanted to make a few brief observations about the bill and express some concerns as well that I have. I had a couple of amendments that I was hoping to offer here today, but in the interest of bipartisanship, I will abide by the agreement that was reached. First, I'm very pleased that the bill before us today includes a freight title. I agree with many of my colleagues that we must absolutely address capacity issues along long-haul routes. We must address the costly and time-consuming bottlenecks within congested metropolitan areas, and we must also address the first and last mile connections to our ports, freight yards, and other job centers in our communities. However, I'm concerned that the freight program created in this bill includes a minimum project threshold of $100 million. As many members have already expressed, many of us represent small and mid-sized communities. Here in Washington, $100 million may seem like a lot of money, but back home in Ventura County, $100 million is an insurmountable sum when it comes to transportation projects. We have struggled over the past few years to address freight bottlenecks in our community, including along Rice Avenue, where we have seen far too many deadly accidents that we have all witnessed on national news in recent years. But as the bill is currently drafted, Ventura County can't compete. We just don't have the resources back home to match on big mega projects that cost $100 million or more. But that doesn't mean that we don't have freight bottlenecks. And as the bill moves forward, I hope that we can work together to ensure that small and mid-sized communities and ports like Ventura County and the Port of Hueneme can compete on a level playing field with bigger projects in the freight program. I was going to offer an amendment to lower the minimum project threshold in the freight program from $100 million to $50 million, and lowering that threshold wouldn't guarantee money for any specific project, but will give small and mid-sized communities at least a fighting chance to compete for these funds. I had also planned to offer an amendment to increase the small project set-aside from 10% to 20%. This would still leave 80% of the money in the pot for bigger projects. I won't push for a vote on either of my amendments today, but I will ask the Chairman and Ranking Members to work with me as this legislation moves forward so that we can address parity issues for small and mid-sized communities and ports so that they can compete for funding in the new freight program. Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank you for your leadership. And I will withdraw my amendment.
I appreciate the gentlelady withdrawing and will continue to work with her on these issues. The next amendment